She covered her aunt's shift as a cleaner at the Grand Aurelia Hotel on a rainy evening that felt heavier than most, not because of the weather but because life had quietly cornered her into saying yes to everything, and as she stepped into the lobby wearing the hotel's simple blue cleaning uniform with her hair tied back and her shoulders squared, she reminded herself this was temporary, just one night, just a favor, just a way to keep the lights on a little longer. The Grand Aurelia was the kind of place where chandeliers glowed like captured constellations and marble floors reflected ambition itself, a place she had only ever passed from the outside, imagining what it would be like to belong, and now she moved through it silently with a cart and a cloth, careful not to be seen, careful not to dream, because dreaming had a way of hurting when reality showed up late and unpaid, and as fate would have it, the hotel was unusually busy that night due to an international investment summit, which meant guests moved with confidence and purpose, suits tailored to perfection, voices low and assured, and in the middle of this world walked her, invisible by design, wiping fingerprints from glass, aligning chairs, restoring order without acknowledgement, until a small, almost absurd moment shifted everything when she bent to clean a spill near the private lounge and a man's polished shoe stopped inches from her hands, prompting her to look up instinctively and meet eyes that were curious rather than dismissive, eyes that lingered not on her uniform but on her face as if searching for a story, and he smiled politely, apologizing as though she were the one inconvenienced, asking if she was enjoying the hotel so far, a question so unexpected she froze for half a second before answering out of reflex that yes, it was beautiful, and he laughed lightly, remarking that it truly was, offering to help her stand as if she were a guest who had simply dropped something, and in that moment the roles blurred because he assumed, naturally and without arrogance, that someone with her calm presence and thoughtful eyes must belong there, and she didn't correct him, not out of deception but because the truth felt too heavy to explain in passing, and so a conversation unfolded, gentle and unguarded, about travel, about work, about how strange it was that two people could cross paths for a minute and feel like it mattered, and when he introduced himself simply as Daniel, no titles, no wealth attached, she introduced herself with just her first name too, and for the first time in months she felt seen as herself rather than as a problem to be solved or a bill to be paid, and as they spoke, guests passed by, staff nodded, time slipped, and something fragile and electric settled between them, until his phone buzzed and he sighed, explaining he had a meeting but hoping they might continue their conversation over coffee later, asking which room she was staying in so he could send an invitation, and that was when the illusion cracked just enough for honesty to step in, because she looked down at her uniform, then back at him, and quietly said she wasn't a guest, she was covering a cleaning shift for her aunt, expecting embarrassment or distance or that familiar flicker of judgment, but instead Daniel's expression softened, deepened, as if respect had replaced assumption, and he said simply that it didn't change anything at all, that work was work, dignity was dignity, and conversation was still conversation, and he asked again, not where she was staying, but whether she would still like that coffee when her shift ended, and she nodded, surprised by her own smile, and hours later, after the carts were parked and the floors gleamed, they sat in the hotel cafe as equals, laughing over small stories, discovering shared values, and when she finally learned that Daniel was not just a businessman but a self-made millionaire known quietly for reshaping industries and louder rooms, it stunned her less than it should have because by then she already knew who he was when no one was watching, and he, in turn, learned of her resilience, her sacrifices, her dreams deferred but not destroyed, and the night stretched into something unforgettable, not because of luxury but because of recognition. And as days turned into continued meetings and opportunities opened not through charity but through genuine belief, she realized that covering her aunt's shift hadn't lowered her place in the world, it had revealed it, proving that humility and grace can open doors pride never could, and if this story moved you, inspired you, or reminded you that greatness often hides in unexpected uniforms, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because more powerful stories like this are waiting to find you, and sometimes all it takes is one unexpected shift to change everything.